Okay. Hello, Cindy.
Hello, Carlotta. How are you?
I'm really well. I'm really excited to speak to you today. Thank you so much for being here. I know that everyone's going to be really thrilled to hear a lot of what you have to say, because you've been on a really incredible journey that I've been following for quite a number of years. And you were the first person who I had a full-on quantum healing with many years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And it
Cool.
just
Okay.
blew my mind.
I feel
And
so honored that I got to be, the first one.
it was just astounding to me. I mean, I didn't even know that that sort of thing was possible. And, you did it with so much artistry. It was incredibly healing. And I know that since then, your work has just been progressing, and
Yeah.
your work is so alchemical, and you're downloading new information all the time.
Yes.
um,
Sometimes it's like, stop the
I
download.
know. So, I mean, maybe we could start a little bit with about that, perhaps, like your methodology and how that's changed over the years. Or
Sure. Okay. So my first, the first thing that I really immersed myself in was the everything Pleiadian that I could get my hands on. That was around the time of my full awakening, which is about 2009, the summer of 2009. I remember throughout my childhood having these moments of pure enlightenment, like seriously just sitting there and all of a sudden going into this space, I'm like fully enlightened, fully aware in this altered consciousness essentially, and then going back into the the unconscious, right? Because I had a pretty heavy, dense upbringing. So yeah, going back into the density of it.
Yeah.
But when about 2007, I just I knew that I needed to be around people more like me, that especially a partner. And I met my husband in 2008, which is odd. I remember at the time, the only terminology that I had was a guy who's new age, right? And I was 21, 22 at the time. And when I met him, not the first night, but when we went on our a little official date, we were walking through a little area in Calgary, and there was a metaphysical shop, and he's like, oh yeah, my aunt owns a shop like this in Santa Monica. He's like, I know a lot about it, just telling me about this stuff, and I'm like, okay. I've met him and haven't looked back ever since. And so him and I went on this big awakening, and it was all Pleiadian connected. So we read Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. We got into Barbara Hanclau's work, the Pleiadian Agenda. She's a Pleiadian channel, so second Pleiadian channel. And then finally we were introduced to Amor Kuan Yin, another Pleiadian channel, who the Pleiadian workbook. And it's funny because Barbara Marciniak, Barbara Hanclau, and then Amor Kuan Yin, her real first name is actually Barbara.
Wow.
So the three prominent Pleiadian channels all named Barbara. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So yeah, we dove really deep into her work. And even though I decided to go on the tantric route first, I went and did some hands-on tantric sexual healing work, to be a practitioner. I think what happened is I was so still sexually wounded that I just felt like a fraud. I'm like, I can't do this. I wanted this because I needed the healing, not because I needed to heal others. And so every time I get into the shower, that's me and water. I've got a lot of water. So I'd get into the shower, and then I would just hear my guides. And I knew it was my guides or my higher self. I couldn't describe exactly who it was, but there was something a guide personal to me saying, okay, you know, you need to, and we had taken a Morse training at this point, both my husband and I, like, this is what you need to be doing. This is what you need to be doing. Cause I hadn't been at this point. And then I just started. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. You know, I'm going to listen. I'm going to do it. For 2 years that I started, I was terrified every time I'd go into a session. I was terrified that people think I was making things up, and I wasn't, right? I was terrified that you know, people weren't going to believe me, but I just did it anyway. And every time, you know, most often the feedback would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that was incredible. It was amazing. I remember there was this one woman who, she didn't say anything. You know, it was an uneventful session, and then 6 months later she comes in to, when I was living in Santa Monica, to the shop, and she's like, you know what, when I had a session with you, I really didn't believe anything you said. It didn't land, it didn't resonate, but 6 months later, she's like, you probably don't remember me, this was 6 months ago, and she's like, now everything makes sense, you know. And that was the point in which I really started to gain confidence in what I was doing, and realize, like, okay, this is like, I'm just going to start to own this more and accept it more. And yeah, I think how it's progressed is that I was given certain tools through more, and mostly the Pleiadian stuff, and I just would take them and I would just naturally see how they could be improved or developed better. Not saying that they weren't perfect the way they were for her and for the people that she taught, but for me and how I work with energy, there was just a natural ability to see how I could develop it or change it or adjust it so that I could get better results with people.
Yeah, absolutely. And then where do you think you are channeling from, or do you know what all this is?
For a really long time, definitely the Pleiadian connection. Like, I've just always resonated like Pleiadian connection. Like, when I feel the Pleiadian guides, that's like, that's my home. That is my home. I always felt home. And actually, it's funny that you say this, because in the last, I'd say probably 1.5 to 2 years, I really let go of working with the Pleiadians. And I stopped bringing them in. I stopped connecting to them directly. And it was only in a session like a couple weeks ago, and this is somebody I've been working with since the beginning, like 6 or 7 years. And so I went in, and I started really channeling from the I am presence, just going right to the source. What is the source? And also working with a person's personal high council, so their own, you know, energy matrix that is their high council, whatever that is to them. And I went in there, and she's so Pleiadian connected to, like, I've actually felt as if we are, you know, we're working together in the Pleiades star system or something, you know what I mean, as soul sisters, and we're just projecting ourselves into this virtual reality 3D matrix. But so I went in there, and it's been such a long time, but I got like almost this, you are so much more powerful when you work with the Pleiadians, you know, this little, like, come on, connect to who you are, like, own who you are. And so, and I had a channeling, and this had never happened before, where the channeling was literally coming from my Pleiadian self. Like, it was me bringing through information to me. And that's when also I really realized I am a 5D being. I'm a 5D being. I've projected my consciousness from 5D, from Pleiades, wherever that is, from whatever life that is, into this matrix reality. And I think my gift is that I know how to get out, but it's easier said than done.
Yes. And can you speak a little bit about that? Because right now it's just beginning to come into, I wouldn't say mainstream consciousness, but people are beginning to hear more about this moving from 3D to 5D.
Yeah.
Could
yeah, it's definitely
what it even is, you know?
Yeah. So and I want to speak to, like, I want to speak from the place of things that I've personally experienced, the realizations, the awareness, the insight, the actual like reality that I've personally experienced. And so I I can take myself out of 3D for sure. And it was only the first time that I really did that that I realized that there really is a matrix, and that humanity is not 3D.
Wow.
The matrix makes us believe and live as though we are 3D. And there's some pieces that I still have to work out. I only have like pieces, right? So when I was above the matrix, I knew that whatever was going on within it, I wasn't a vibrational match, like as a victim or anything. Obviously, I could still be in the world, but I'm vibrating at a higher frequency than the matrix is holding humanity in. And you know, definitely when we have like these really expanded spiritual experiences, we vibrate above the matrix, we go beyond it, but then we come back down and we continue within it, right? And so the key is learning to doing enough inner work or being on the right path and in the right alignment so that we permanently vibrate out of it. And one thing I'm really connected to is the concept of the 144,000. Have
Okay.
you heard of that? So I forget who originally brought this through, but it's pretty prominent in like some of the spiritual communities, I think since the 80s, maybe even before, where all it's going to take is 144,000 people to become, you know, fully Christ conscious, or I think fully enlightened. But beyond that, like, I think you can be, you can become enlightened and still vibrate in the matrix, I believe. That so what my teaching and what I receive, it's 144,000 to get out of the matrix. And then what it's going to do is it's going to create an opportunity for everybody to be liberated. It's like the 100th monkey effect, right?
Yeah.
It's like when a certain percentage of the population, and then it goes throughout the whole field. And we still have free will, we still have choice, we can still choose, you know, I'm not ready for that. But I believe that it's going to raise the collective so much that people will be ready to just say yes and let go of the allurements and the traps of the 3D matrix, the things that really keep us here. Because we are imprisoned only because we believe, you know, we lack of awareness and the distraction in our addictions, and you know, so, and I think the key is our DNA. We have to reactivate that DNA. The Pleiadians always bring through channelings about how our DNA was, in the beginning, it was messed with, right? It went from being this we went from being perfect and multidimensional to being so limited and less than what we were designed to be. So I think the DNA has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I really believe that. Yes.
Yeah.
As we are reconstructing our DNA, is this a form of ascension? Is this what people mean when they talk about ascension? The
Ascension.
soul? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are different definitions and perspectives, and even like, I don't know how to explain it, but like realities of ascension, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we all hold in what it means to an individual who really is feeling called to ascension. To me, ascension is we're ascending out of the matrix and we're returning to who we were originally designed to be. We're restoring the true God human, you know, the divine human, I should say. Yeah. And that's what ascension is to me. Like, we are 5D beings.
Right.
I believe 5D is the standard for all incarnated reality. So
yes,
yeah,
the
and
embodiment piece is really important as well, like coming into our body. the embodiment piece.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely, it is. And I've had moments where, and I don't know if it's true to me. Is it true to all? I don't want to say that that is the case, but for me, I have definitely felt my vessel as a program where it's almost like, is it even real? But at the same time, I know the key when in restoring who we originally are as a human, a 5D human, it is through the body. It is definitely through the body, through the vessel, whatever this program is, whatever this, I guess, I don't know, flesh machine. No. Actually, no, I think it's more than that. It's unconditional love. I've had an experience where I was meditating and my entire body was unconditional love, as if it was a separate entity, as if it was like this unconditionally loving, perfect being loving me, the being that's inhabiting it. I don't know. It's so hard to make sense sometimes of all these bits and pieces that I get, and sometimes I get the full picture. But
yes, who do you feel has been like working with our DNA or messing up our DNA?
Right. There's some I don't actually know, other than I've read like it's the Anunnaki or it's the reptilians. I personally absolutely believe that there is a reptilian race, for sure. That's not even, it has interfered with us. I've also heard that were multiple ET, like extraterrestrial species and civilizations that contributed to us, but then whoever did it, I believe, did it with the intention to create an enslavement. Because why would you want to take something that's perfect and change it so that we're now living a reality of limitation and significantly less than what we really are meant to be, right? And everything that's just gone on this planet since the beginning of our recorded time, and it's just not natural. That's not natural. Even in evolution, I don't know. There's something really wrong. There's something really off. I can't say what it is, but I know we also don't have the full we don't have the full picture of our history, and we haven't been given the truth about our history, especially like our ancient history. So I think there's a lot of programs that are false that have been inserted in the history purposefully. So
yes, absolutely. And then there are people like yourself who are from other star systems or like deeply connected to other star systems, and you are bringing in something very positive, like a positive technology that's supporting other people.
I don't know what to say to that, but technology, I think it's just reactivating our technology that's already been given. I think that's what with everything that I do, I think that's always been the point of it. I just didn't know.
That's really beautiful. And I wonder if you'd tell us a little bit about your current journey, because you're really connecting to what's possible for humans.
Yes. This is where I start to light up.
Yeah.
This is my absolute. So if I had if God gave me one mission and it was the one thing I needed to do and fulfill while I was here on this planet, is to not only become like as much and full embodied breatharian as possible, but to help as many people also on that journey to become breatharian, like all the way fully integrated, healthy breatharians. That's
amazing.
That's my like end all be all mission. That's what, and it's funny because just to go to the very beginning, in 2007, before I met my husband, I was living, I think it was like 12 people in the house, and most of them were, like drinking and partying all the time. And then here I am just like download, oh, I need to start fasting. I'm going to go research fasting. Like how did I just know? Right. Even before my awakening. And I think fasting has been such a huge part of my journey. So I started fasting in 2007. I did my first 10-day fast. And ever since then, I've been doing 2 to 4, 6 to 4 to 21 day fasts until I came across Breatharianism in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
I remember.
For those people who don't know what Breatharianism is.
Okay, so Breatharianism or the pranic lifestyle is, how I need to word this really well so that it's not a trigger point. It's about switching your biological engine to receive nutrients and minerals and energy and nourishment from food to just energy, to prana, to to chi, to whatever you want to call it, to oxygen. Oxygen's a really big key to that. And with that, it's not just about like, oh, I don't need to eat anymore. It's a lot of people, including myself, like really focused on that piece for a long time. But this is, to me, how we become 5D again, like very quickly, very quickly. So it's restoring the truth that we are whole and don't need anything. I hope you can't hear that mowing. You probably can.
No, actually.
Okay, good. I'm like, great timing to mow, people.
Well, no, we're all about the spontaneity of these calls.
Of course, yeah. So yeah, it's just I believe, and I really deeply know, I don't even believe like this is my truth, is that the human vessel is designed to be fully sustained only on oxygen. Yeah. And as soon as, I don't know where along the way we start to need food in order to survive. Because for sure, if you haven't activated this vessel or this new engine, and you sure, a person will become malnourished and die, right? Like there's a process to activating this. It's not that hard. It really isn't. But it still needs to be done. You just don't stop eating. And I also believe that, and again, no, throw belief, because belief it's a belief. Like, this is my truth, is once you remove food, your DNA will restore itself. It'll start to go back to where it was, or its original divine blueprint. Once you remove everything, that not just food, but alcohol and toxic water and stuff like that, it will restore itself over time, especially with breath work. That's amazing. Yeah. And this is it for me. It's like my greatest truth. I'm also not perfect. I did my first Breatharian transition, like the main one, on my 30th birthday in 2016. And then I went 6 months, at which point I was still having a little bit here and there. And then I got pregnant, and then I just wasn't ready mentally and emotionally and in my life to have a Breatharian pregnancy. Mm-hmm. But when I started to force myself to eat again, like, I was already eating a little bit for pleasure, just for pleasure. But when I started, and I think I had an addiction to chocolate too. I'm just going to throw that in there.
Join the club.
Right. When I started eating again, I started to get all of these health issues. and they didn't stop until I did my breatharian transition. I retransitioned back a year ago in July.
Wow.
So
Do you think that might be because your body was already adjusting to a higher
yes,
dimension, and so then the food threw you off slightly,
yes,
causing
yeah. So probably about a year ago, actually, I came across an interview of a woman who's been a breatharian for about 10 years on YouTube. And she said that she has seen this in her life, where she has people around her who go on the breatharian path for a certain amount of time, decide to go back to food, and their whole life collapses. Their health collapses, their finances collapse, their everything just becomes, it's like in her perspective, in her truth, in her belief, she's like, you evolve your DNA and then you try to go back. It's like having a drug addiction, right? Like it's just so out of resonance with your biological makeup now that you're literally putting something in that creates significant disharmony, whereas before doing the transition, wasn't a disharmony. It was in harmony with your belief system, where your body was. So yes, I believe that's exactly what happened. And yeah, so
and
and
so
that's
then
okay.
you said you were moving into your second, are you in your second transitional phase?
So I transitioned again, but like I opened everything up and let go of full-time eating July last year, like at the beginning of July. And that would have been 2019. Yeah, because we're 2020. And it was interesting. Like I went from being starving all the time because my son was nursing every hour to 90 minutes and just draining me. So I went from being continuously starving, I couldn't get enough. And he has some gut stuff, so I couldn't eat a lot, everything I wanted. It was very, very limited. And then I opened up my stuff over the weekend, did everything I needed to do, and then I stopped having hunger and haven't looked back. And I was nursing the same amount, and also my milk only decreased a little bit. Yeah. And I was still eating probably at that point like 10%, but I was just picking little things. And so since then, my journey since then has been cycling on and off of food, where I could go a couple months where the only thing I have is like some sauce, right? Or, but then also in February was probably when I had the most food, so in Calgary, you have very long, cold winters. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a big winter person. So I would be indoors. I wasn't doing breath work. I think I went through a cycle. I wasn't doing very much. I was, a mom. I wasn't getting enough sleep. And so I turned to food. And what I have found is that for me, I've already absolutely proven to myself that I'm sustained from something outside of food, because I went from fasting for however many years I fasted for to this, whereas like if I don't have food or I do have food, I'm not fasting or not fasting, so there's no fasting transition. The only time I actually temporarily go into a fasting state is if I remove water for 3 days. So for I'll kind of shift into fasting for a little bit when I remove water. And then, but then on the fourth day, I find I'm not really fasting anymore without the water. Even, it's interesting. Although like I don't have I still have a belief I need water to survive.
But is the goal is to stop with water as well? Is that possible, or
it is possible, and there are definitely people who are doing it on this planet and have done it for years. However, what I've observed is that these people are single, They live in an environment that's like completely immersed in nature all the time. They're not living a Western lifestyle with a family. Like, I'm a mom, I have a 3-year-old. I have to make food for him all day long. I have a husband. I also, like, even though this is my path, you know, and I have struggled with using food as a coping mechanism for sure. Like, if I don't get enough sleep and I get stressed out, I'm going to want more so. If I could mitigate it, if I do breath work, I won't want it. But
Okay.
I'm like, fuck breath work. I'm gonna just have that brownie.
I mean, I think that's true of everyone, like, especially tired moms. It's like,
Yeah. And so, yeah, and I think that's been my struggle, and for me it has been a struggle because it's like, I know that this isn't my highest good, and then what happens is if I say yes, I can get stuck in a food, like this food space where it's like, now every day I need to have a brownie, or every day I want like a little something, right? And it's never, and it's usually at night, at the end of the day, when my son goes to sleep, and or if I didn't get enough sleep, it's like first thing in the morning. And then it's just like, I want that hit, I want that distraction, I want that. Yeah,
yeah.
I've got
So,
stuck in that for sure.
yeah, thank you for being so vulnerable, because it really is real at times,
It
that.
is, yeah. And also I think another struggle too is the social aspect, where everyone is eating and sitting down or sitting together and enjoying, and there's definitely that connection that happens when people eat together, and I've removed myself from that most of the time, but sometimes it's like, okay, like, there's been times like I don't want to eat, but I want to be part of this,
Yeah.
right? And I think in those moments, I don't feel like that was authentic to me too, because I could just as well as like sit there and have a juice, or just sit. Obviously I'd want to have something, but that need is something that I have to be careful with myself too. Once, it's not very often, I think I'm more like comfortable, I'm like, I'm just gonna remove myself, I'm okay with that. I'm okay being by myself.
Oh, yeah.
And especially since my son eats differently than everybody else, it's easier to remove myself. But when that's different, I don't know, it's a social thing. I'm still working a lot of these pieces out, I think. And the more I do this, the longer it goes, and the more I do say no to food, I find the more authentic I get, and I go into those spaces where I'm comfortable and okay with whatever is. It's when I drop down and then have to travel my way back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of a push and pull, but there's
A
like
push
this
and pull.
different levels that you're having to break through. And
Yes, absolutely. And I look at it like this. I may very well be working out the need to, and I don't have a physical need to eat. I don't ever have hunger, and with that, I don't have thirst. I can tell when my body needs liquids because it's getting dry, but I don't ever feel thirsty. I don't ever feel hungry. Also, with that, I don't ever, if I do eat something, there's no signal there telling me that my stomach's full and that I've had enough. I just literally have to feel that. So I could eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat, and I would never, there'd never be anything be like, okay, you're good. I would just be like, I feel disgusting. So all of those signals have been turned off, which is really interesting. Where are we going with this? I think there was a point I was getting to, but I just lost it.
Yeah, but
there really
there's so
is
many aspects to what you're needing to go through, and I can imagine also in feeding your son the whole day long, there's a certain discipline.
Yeah, but there is, right? And if I do, you know, with him, I give him a lot of fruit. He connects with fruit. Fruit to me is the ultimate healer. And so I will pop some grapes into my mouth and stuff like that. Right. But it's those days, if I'm tired, I have to be careful not to just be like mindlessly wanting to pop things into my mouth and hold that present. Because I think where I was getting to this is I don't have a physical need to eat, but definitely there are times if I'm not at my best, I have an emotional need to eat, you know, and it's working those kinks out, I worked it out as food as an addiction. Definitely I had an addiction to food. Not saying that it's completely gone. I've just feel like I've worked most of it out. Although I can guarantee you, if I went and ate all day today, I'd want to eat all day tomorrow. I'd want to eat all day the day after, because I get stuck in that trap of it's almost like if I bring that into my body, I've activated those things in me that are associated with it, like the traumas, the wounds, the emotions that vibrate with that particular kind of food. And so then when I activate those things and I don't release them, it's that emotional body that's like, give me more to fill these holes. And then when I release them, it's like, oh, I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
So
exactly, there's so much emotion tied in with food.
I think most of it is emotional, you know,
as we're dieting and fasting.
Yeah.
Partly it's, of course, you know, the weight loss or whatever it is that people
Yeah.
get into it for, but it's just kind of getting through those emotional hurdles and just letting the emotions dissolve and to expand and just elevate ourselves in so many ways. Yeah.
It's so connected. It's just, it boggles my mind, the link, you know, remove the emotional body and it's like we've just all become breatharian immediately. Just kidding.
Tell us, how does it actually feel? You know, what is the feeling of elation that because I know you feel amazing when you hit that spot.
Yes, it's that spot. When I hit that spot, I'm in 5D, you know, and it was funny. I remember being in that space and then, you know, choosing to have something to eat. The first time it's fine. It's the second or third time it's like, I've been kicked out of 5D. It's a distortion. So when I'm in that space, I am continuously channeling. It's like I'm so clear that I know exactly what it is that God wants me to do. And God, creator, universe, source, I am, whatever, you know, whatever that connection is, whatever that source is. It's like I know exactly what I'm meant to do. I'm given direction. I have I know what to do in front of me. I get into those spaces where it's so clear, crystal clear in my being that I would never, ever need a reading from somebody. I would never need a reading. I would never need to pull an oracle card. I just know, like I have a question, I get the answer. Also, it's in heaven. It really is heaven. Everything starts to harmonize. Abundance, you know, beauty is everywhere. I'm in my heart. My heart is pouring out love everywhere I go. Every single person I'm in love with, you know, every single person I can see the beauty of. My relationships just harmonize. My sexual energy just opens and activates, but in a really pure and whole way. It's like every trauma, wound, it doesn't exist anymore. It's as if everything gets deleted, but it doesn't, because as soon as I lower my vibration, it's all there again. And right. And so it's interesting to think, like, is it just a vibrate? You know, we talk about like, raise your vibration, but at the same time, face your shadow. So I think there's this art and balance, and even a science to raising your vibration, but dealing with the shit. Raising your vibration, but like making, doing it in a way where you're authentically grounded and not just getting out of your body and escaping, which I think happened for a really long time in our spiritual communities, right? And the dissociating and stuff. Like, to me, I'm never dissociated. In fact, I feel way more grounded and way more present. I don't have to try. And as soon as I eat food, head ungrounded, and then I have to pull myself back in.
It's wild. It just turns on our head all our beliefs about, what we need to do. And
well, I think we've been lied to.
And whereas what you're describing to me sounds like the real heaven on earth.
It is. I really feel this is the key to creating the new world. At least I know that this is my piece in it. Yeah. And I feel like at some point this will be, I just want to add one more thing because I want to hear what you have to say too. I really believe that at some point, if we continue the way that we're going, it's not going to be a choice. It's either going to be evolve into breatharian or you're not going to survive. Because everything's poisoned, everything is toxic, everything, there's that version of reality. And I think food, unless you're going a very pure way, very, very pure, even then there's so much influence, I think that this could become the only option, maybe not our generation, maybe not even our kids' generation, maybe though, maybe, we'll see. But
I used to think of this idea of ascension and connecting to the 5D as something so removed and far away from what was possible for us as humans, as a planet. And it's even just in the last 6 months, it just feels like so much more of a possibility. Like I can really feel with all the terrible things that are happening right now, there's also, as you say, this sense that, okay, it's happening, we're splitting. People are now having this chance to move into the higher dimensions and to ascend and support the planet to ascend. So if someone wants,
it's happening. It's happening.
It's happening. It feels like it is actually happening. And to me, it just sounded like something that, you hear like ascended masters and things like that. And we're not taught in our culture, even in a lot of spiritual circles, that actually we all as humans have that possibility of ascending, or however you would call it, just sort of moving into a higher dimension, but still being present in our bodies, still being here on earth.
And I love that you said that, because I again, since the Pleiadians came in 2009, it's like I've always believed in ascension. That's always felt like a part of my mission too. But again, there's distance between what's like me and ascension. There's like that space, right? Like this is something that I'm going to have to evolve into. But honestly, it's like now it's a tangible reality. It's like, this is happening, and I'm already experiencing it when I go into those states. And I know that I'm working my way to being in those states all the time.
Yeah.
And that's been the food thing. And I know once I'm there, like I can't even imagine what that's going to be like. Like, I can't even imagine what it's like to just full-time give up food. And I guess I think there's a part of me that doesn't want to, say I'll never eat again, because for experience and pleasure, if I go somewhere and I feel inclined and it's in the flow and it's part of my, just the flow and the alignment to have something, it won't take me out. Right? Won't bring me back down. But I know this is one path, and I know that there are other paths to people really embodying their 5D authentic human, divine human self. Like, I know that this isn't the end all be all, but I do believe that this is a way to do it really fast and to make it a reality. Like, this isn't, we're not talking about ascension as like, oh, this is something like this, like you said, it's happening now, we're doing it, it's possible. Find your alignment, find your path, find the thing that's for you, and let's choose, because we need to choose right now. With what's happening on the planet, we need to choose right now. There's no more waiting around. Like, this is go time.
I love that. Yes. And so that being said, how does someone start? If anyone listening to this is thinking, you know, how can I possibly start on this journey? What would you suggest?
I would suggest just do some fasting. If you haven't already done some fasting, just I mean, say it's somebody that's been doing fasting for a long time, and it's someone that's eating pure and, you know, vegan, then you can probably make a transition pretty quickly. I personally would just start researching breatharianism. I would look on YouTube. There are some books. There's lots of stuff on YouTube, and I would find somebody as a guide for sure. Unless you really trust in your own being that you could do it yourself. I did pretty much everything myself. Like, I did lots of research, but if you don't, like, it's so much easier with a guide. I would say that. Now, if you haven't been doing a lot of fasting, if you're still eating denser food or eating non-organic, or, you know, then you can make definitely anybody can make the leap. It's just how difficult it'll be to hold it, you know. And every single person is different. Like, for instance, if somebody's eating denser food and they haven't done a lot of fasting, maybe they've got a lot of toxicity, but they don't have a food addiction. They're not using food to cope. They're not using food to you know, suppress emotion. They're just eating. It's probably going to be a lot easier for them. They'll have to go through the physical detox effects. That could be difficult, but on an emotional level, could be easier for them than the person that's been fasting for 10 years, that eats vegan, but then, like, always uses food as a way to distract themselves and for pleasure and to cope and to be, so it's so unique to the individual, the path.
Absolutely. And was this something that you will be supporting people through?
Yes. I don't feel ready quite yet, but I feel definitely, I mean, at the very latest, probably in January. I still have a little further to go to know within my own being that I am at a place where I'm now far enough along that I can support someone all the way.
Beautiful. This is such an incredible vision for our future. You know, thank you for being such a trailblazer.
Oh, I mean, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go this path. It's definitely this thing that comes through me. It's like, as much as it lights me up and I love it, I also know there's this duty and this responsibility. So there have been those moments where I just want to eat and be normal.
Right.
You know, but then I literally have to, like, block out my guidance and block out, you know, the knowing when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and have a, you know, couple day binge on eating out with my husband, to block it all out. And I haven't done that for a while, but when I was doing that, it's just like, I know what I'm doing is so out of alignment with who I am. So it's my duty, it's my responsibility, it's my absolute pleasure. I love it so much. And
I know. And are you still offering one-to-one sessions with people, and still doing I don't know if you'd call it alchemical or quantum work?
So at this time, I don't offer just single sessions or one-to-one. Like, I do offer a program. And the program is the thing that I'm really passionate outside of, say, breatharianism, is supporting people to have the courage and confidence to fulfill their own life mission, specifically working with women, although some men, but mostly women who are afraid to be visible. They're afraid to be like, okay, if I show the world who I am, everybody's going to think I'm insane, or have fear that they're going to look stupid, or be humiliated. So I really love to work with people in that and to help them to just clear all of that out of the way, activate their incredible multi-dimensional gifts, because I usually just work with people who are spiritual messengers or psychics or channels or healers, or have some sort of gift that can be invisible to the world, and really narrow in what that is and bring that to the world, have the courage and confidence to live their life mission, because that is a huge piece about us creating the new earth too. And 5D is throat chakra, 5D is expression, right? But it's got to come all the way up. Your roots got to be in order, your sacral, your solar, your heart, and then you express out into the world. So, and these things just take care, the two upper ones just take care of themselves when you take care of the lower ones. So and I bring a really grounded perspective. So I connect like muscle testing. Now I bring in muscle testing to find the pieces. Say, for example, something's trapped in your intestines. I have programs through muscle testing. I can find that. But then I go to the high council of the person. I bring through those activations. So I really go grounded and multi-dimensional, and bridge the two worlds, right? The earthly and the cosmic.
Yes, again, just the marriage of those two worlds.
Yeah, for sure. The portal, the bridge, the connector. Yeah.
And this work is so needed right now for us to all light up our gifts and bring them into the world. Yeah, and coming into congruence, and coherence.
Yeah, I love that. Yes.
Yeah. Where a lot of magic happens. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so wow, this was such a wonderful conversation. And so people will find you at cindyellams.com.
Yep. And also on my Instagram, which is at Cindy_Ellams.
Fantastic. And we'll put all of that information down.
Yay. Thank you.
Okay. Cindy, thank you so much. This has been really inspirational for me. I'm going to be thinking about my diet in the next week.
Thank you. It's been definitely a privilege to speak with you, and an honor. So thank you for taking the time to pick at my brain and my insight.
Well, I really don't know, that many people who are doing this incredible work who are pioneering. And, I know there are some Breatharians out there, but I love the way that you're putting your message out there, but also like your journey, and really and vulnerably sharing all of your journey as well, which makes it feel accessible to people.
Yes, it's important, right? Because at this time, I mean, it's important for me, I think, to do that as a human being and to be in integrity. But I think people more and more can suss out and sense when there's, there's hiding and there's shadow and there's somebody not in their integrity too. So it's, for my own humanity and my own self, it's good I got to show everything, right? But also from another side of things, it's like, because trust me, I've had those moments where like, I don't really want to share certain things. I just want to be perfect already. But no. Just show the world that I'm so strong. I already did it. It was like, no, I'm human. Right. I'm human too.
We're all on this journey. Yeah, we're all on this crazy journey together.
Yeah, we really are. And
and absolutely. And yeah, I find that the things that I'm teaching, I'm then like really getting my butt kicked in real life as well. So
yeah,
in that case, I think it's important to stay real as teachers.
Totally.
Well, okay, well, on that note,
okay,
I hope we'll see you again, and would love you again. Thank you so much.
It's
Lots
been
of
my
love
pleasure.
to you.
You as well.
Okay. Bye, Cindy.
Bye, Carlotta.